Minutes. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 264 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. It is Belmont Stakes Week. Can you feel the energy? I've got my shirt. We're all ready to rock and roll. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit the notification bell. We'd appreciate that. And also smash that like button. You can follow me on Twitter at HKravitz and scrolling on the bottom of the screen, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. You can see right there is my email. Very quickly, we're going to go through some promos because tonight's show is going to be fast and furious with a lot of great information for you about the undercard stake races this Saturday at Belmont Park. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. The Power Picks, very important. We are emailing out Power Picks Thursday night for the Friday card and Friday night for the Saturday card. The Power Picks are only $4 every weekend. That's it. It's a monthly subscription, $16 total. You're going to get about 6 or 7 pages of Friday information and 8 to 10 pages of Belmont Stakes information Friday night if you sign up for the Power Picks. Please do that immediately if you are not subscribed for that. The best time to do that would be before Thursday night, no matter if you're doing this live or as a replay. The sooner you sign up for the Power Picks, the sooner I can get you out information. I will be traveling and also at the track this weekend as well. So I'll be a little more busy than normal. That's why it'd be best if you could get your Power Pick subscription out if you're not a subscriber ASAP. We've got a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. All right. We're going to jump right in, guys. Next live show. We've got a live show tomorrow night. Is our huge blowout show, Late Pick 5, all stakes Late Pick 5, ending in the Belmont. It is scheduled right now to start at 8:30 Thursday night to about 10. It's going to be a little bit of a longer show. We got a lot to go through in these races. Again, tentatively 8:30 to 10 Eastern Standard Time Thursday. However, I will say there is a chance we might start earlier at 8 o'clock if the races are canceled tomorrow, Thursday, depending on this whole smoke situation. It's supposed to get better and improve. As of right now, the races are still on for Thursday, although they did cancel training Thursday morning. But the air quality is supposed to gradually get better and better, really starting tomorrow morning or overnight tonight. So there's a chance we'll have our big podcast show Thursday at 8 p.m. instead of 8:30. Check for Twitter, check our YouTube channel, and you'll find out exactly when we're starting that great show. All right, without further ado, let me bring on my co-hosts for the weekend, and I'm really excited to have both of them on because we got a lot of incredible stake races to talk about. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, we got Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Guys, Belmont Week, welcome.
What's happening, fellas?
Wait, clear the air. Paul, are you okay?
Come on,
are you
Paul.
okay?
Well, I'm practicing for Elmont.
I'll tell you what. I think I may have an N95 mask still from COVID, but I don't want to bring that up. It brings up some bad memories. In all seriousness, first of all, we hope everyone's going to be okay. Looks like the worst is over. It was pretty bad. It looked like in New York today. Not quite as bad out on where Belmont is in Elmont on the island. Pete, we don't like talk about weather. It's all going to clear out. It'll be sunny. It'll be beautiful racing.
It should be
all
fine,
3 days.
right? Hey,
right?
you don't? Isn't there a show too at 8 o'clock right after this? Bettin and Boozin?
There is. Thank you for mentioning that. We got Bettin and Boozin right after this, 8 p.m. Eastern. They're going to cover the Friday Late Pick 5, actually the Late Pick 4, and all 5 stake races. Please watch Bettin and Boozin right after this show. Thanks for mentioning. We got a lot of people commenting. We're not going to show as many comments tonight, guys, because we want to get through the races and we're going to be a little bit quick. I see Ross Blacker is going to be there. We see Stephen Vandenbroek. Hello. Richie, good evening on early night. What's up, Richie? Jeff Wilson. We got a lot of people watching. Please make sure you comment on our YouTube channel in the live chat. Paul, not only we have a lot of great racing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but for you serial horizontal players, are we ready for this? For Friday and Saturday, there's a two-day pick 4, a 2-day pick six, the New York Met Mile double, the Belmont Gold Cup Belmont Stakes double, the 2-day Philly and Mare double, the 2-day Sprint double, the $3 pick three triple play separate on Friday and Saturday, and the Met Mile Belmont Stakes double. Paul, I hope mortgage is paid.
Even I have a headache, Howard. I gotta narrow that down to 3 or 4.
Pete, do you think you might be partaking in any of those special 2 days? You can just stick with the pick fives or some verticals or whatever.
I guess it depends on what's in the sequences. You don't want to play them just to play them. Depends if there's something that I like and at least part of it, then maybe you'll jump in. I do like the turf. I always like the turf ones. Those are always interesting. And then if you're doing like a $3 or a $5 minimum one, those could be good. You weed out some people, they could pay.
Oh, no doubt about it. We got TJ Bauer wants to know, is Bettin Boozin hosted by Kyle Roscoe? Yes, the newly engaged Kyle Roscoe and a little bit richer Kyle Roscoe as well, with a great score. Actually did qualify for the NHC, chose to go the cash route. Don't blame Raul for that. Knowing him, he'll qualify for the NHC as well. And Jeff Amster, yes, I just mentioned that in the last about 20 minutes or so, per Naira, training is canceled to Saratoga at Belmont tomorrow morning, not the races. They're going to make a decision later in the morning for the Thursday races. I would be very surprised if Friday or Saturday they're not racing. It looks like it's going to clear out a little bit, and it's their biggest weekend of the year, and I'm sure they'll go. Malcolm, I see you here also. All right, guys, let's get into it. Today, we're going to cover races 3, 5, 6, and 7, the 4 stake races that are outside of the pick 5 that ends in the Belmont Stakes. And guys, I've handicapped, I don't know how many races, whatever, 36 races, whatever, for the 3 days, 34 races. This weekend's racing, Pete and Paul, I mean, every year it's great. I don't think I've seen, I think Saturday's card at Belmont is basically a Breeders' Cup card. And you could make the argument it's better than a Breeders' Cup card because of the quality and the size of the fields. Just the whole weekend, guys, is going to be insane.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, and it was a lot of almost all the superstars are here. So it's great couple of days.
No doubt about it. Guys, let's get right into it. We're going to start right with the with race 3, excuse me. Let me take off the banners here. I'm also going to bring up our picks, which are not going to be very creative in this first race we're going to talk about, but hey, you got a Breeders' Cup champion running. All right, guys, here we go. These are the first of the 4 undercard races on Saturday. Race 3 is the True North. It's a 6.5 furlong sprint. It's a grade 2. It's a small field of 6. You can see on the screen. Big morning line favor, the number 4, Elite Power. Breeders' Cup Sprint champion, came back with 1 run this year and ran well at 4-5. We're all going actually Elite Power over Strobe, who is a very nice horse for Cox and Drew. Paul, why don't you break down this race a little bit? Your thoughts?
Well, we always say you try to find ways to beat the favorite. And if you are going to look for ways to beat this horse, you could talk to the layoff coming off Saudi Arabia and the fact he's never stepped foot on Belmont Park unless he's down there training. I mean, Bill Mott has been, has shop set up at the Oklahoma at Saratoga for a few weeks. So I assume he would be shipping down Thursday or Friday. But those are the cases against. Now, if you want to talk about the cases for, if you're worried about the layoff, Mr. Mott graded stakes on dirt sprints with 120 to 180 days, 27%. This layoff in general, overall, all races, 24%. Pete, I'm glad Howard's come around on this horse. You do recall he gave us a hard time for picking this horse in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He thought I might forget that, but I forget what I had for breakfast, but I don't forget things like that.
Well, and the Eclipse Award too.
And the Eclipse. And I voted. Yes, that's right, Pete. When I revealed my vote for this horse in the Eclipse, it was to great derision from Professor Uncle Howard. So there. So I'm glad he's come around. And now I will tell you what, though, Howard, and we all picked him second. This 5's a tough cookie. That race has already produced 3 next out winners. That horse Skelly ran a very good race. I'm sure we all watched that race. He was very solid in that race. So Again, the 4's going to take some beating. I would say this. I think I don't see anyone beyond the 5 capable of it.
What's interesting about this race, Paul? We're all going with elite power, but if you take out the names, if you take out elite power and Strobe and you just look at PP's, Pete, I mean, Strobe has consistently run numbers that are as good, if not even slightly better, than elite power. Now, he hasn't accomplished nearly as much, but boy, elite power, I picked him, but he's no sure thing at all, at least just strictly on the numbers.
Well, and it's funny, too, because that was part of the argument against elite power last year when he was stepping up into the Vosburg. And then when he went right from that to the Breeders' Cup Sprint, it was, are we sure this horse is this good? Two races ago, he was running against optional claimers and, and allowance horses. So you never know. The same thing can be said. I mean, Strobe's sort of rise, and if you look at buyers specifically, it's almost even a little bit better at this point. If you say, okay, the next couple steps, it's just that we've seen elite power do it, and we've seen elite power do it pretty easily against some really good horses. And we saw that Gunite really flattered the Riyadh Dirt Sprint win because he sort of dominated Gunite, and then Gunite comes back last week and looks pretty strong coming back. So if nothing else, that just flatters elite power more. But I definitely wouldn't be shocked if he can't run Strobe down for some reason. I mean, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world, but I love this horse. Me and Paul love this horse. I think he's just great. So, and you have Irad. So, I mean, it's hard to go against him.
Guys, our very astute viewers and listeners are in the chat. Daniel Ramser. Daniel, I'm not sure we've seen your name. Welcome to the show, Daniel. Excellent point. Strobe is the last horse to beat elite power. You can see on the screen there, he did it way back in May of last year in a main special weight. Wow. How loaded main race was that, guys? May 7th at Churchill Downs. Daniel, thanks for making that comment. Guys, I guess since it's just going to come 4 or 5, although we agree that it could be, I wouldn't be shocked if Strobe. I have Strobe as a B. I just have elite power A, Strobe B. And that's all I have.
You have to split them, right? You have to decide one way or the other and split them. If you're doing I don't remember if this is in a pick 4 sequence, I assume, if you're in a pick 3 sequence or whatever. You can't really pick.
It's in the pick 5. It's got to be something.
Yeah, it's definitely. The funny thing is, though, all 3 of us picked a different horse in third. So that's at least odd, if nothing else.
Well, just because I want to focus on the other 3 races, guys, just very quickly, I'm just going to scroll through the other horses. Today's flavor, Paul. Actually, when I get to your horse, you can really quickly talk about your horse for just a little bit. Today's flavor is very fast, has the rail. It's going to have the lead, Paul, most likely, right?
Yeah, I think he goes to the lead and hangs on for third. Although, Pete will talk about the 6. The 6 intrigues me only in that I have no idea why he's running a sprint, but we'll let Pete talk about that.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Synthesis is David. Guys, I got to be careful what I say, but David Jacobson and Jamie Ness are running some horses this weekend. All I got to say is if some weird shit happens, you'll know why. I'm sorry. I'm just going to leave it at that. We all know. We all can read through that. This horse ran big last time, actually beat Following Sea and Gun It, but the race fell right into his lap, and I don't see it at all in here.
Doesn't run well off Lasix either.
No, I mean, I've got Anarchist, guys. I've got Anarchist in third. He's pretty quick also. He's only a 4-year-old. Doug O'Neill takes over the training. I think he'll probably sit off of Strobe. He might get a nice trip, guys. I think he's interesting, to finish somewhere in the money, not first or second. And then you got Fearless, who this is a horse that I've chased on this show, guys, a few times that I like, but this is a very weird spot. And Pete, I'll let you talk about him real quick. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I want to do that. This feels like a prep for something else. I mean, it has to be.
I mean, even if it was, though, it still feels like a weird place to prep him. So mine was more of, this is just a good horse. And I mean, he's a good horse who's run over the course, and it's got Saez and can be pretty tactical. I don't know about how tactical sprinting after going. I mean, you're going from all of a sudden this horse was running marathon distances and now is cutting way back. It's very odd. But he's just a good horse, and I figured if they're putting him at 15-1, if you wanted to do something cold, I'd rather take a horse who's been knocking around in grade 2, grade 3s than maybe some of the other ones.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this race just because of the top two are really high quality. It's a horrible betting race. It's part of a lot of horizontals. Paul, please once again tell everyone who's betting horizontals and doing it smartly, in our opinion at least, how they should handle a 45 and a 9-5 and how you do not weigh them equally with ABCs.
Well, yeah, with ABCs, I think you had the right idea, Howard. One of them's an A, one's a B. If you're playing a caveman, it depends on what else you have, but I think you got to lean to picking one of them and playing it twice as opposed to picking
Yes.
both of them and playing it once.
Yeah, just single and go for it. I would not be. I think it's going to be 3-5, 9-5. I think will be the odds somewhere like that on those two. Everyone else will be at least 5 or 6-1. All right, let's go on to the next race, guys. Scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Paul and I are thinking pretty similar here in this race. Pete's going a little bit different, but we are all going with a horse that ran an absolute hole in the wind last time at Keeneland. Let me go ahead and bring that race up right now. Race 5 is the next graded stakes outside of sequence of pick 5. It's like I said, it's race 5. It's the poker stakes, 1 mile. It's that little bend. It's really one turn with a slight bend to start the race. It's a grade 3. You can see the field there. There's a slight chance of a little bit of rain Friday. It's going to have no effect on the turf racing whatsoever. In fact, they need a little bit of rain on the turf course, actually. But it's going to be firm unless they get a little more rain than they thought on Saturday. There's the field of 7. Shea Pierre ran a huge race for Delacour and Pratt. We're all going with this horse. Pete, I'll let you go first. Is there a scenario? Well, there's always a scenario in which a horse can lose, but wow, did he run well?
Yeah, I mean, he just looks great, and I mean that race has come back so strong. I mean, Modern Games came back and won overseas up to the mark, looked dominant, and is going to be favored in a later race. And Dr. Zemf's actually a horse I like. Emmanuel just had a tough trip, but I think the race was deep, and this horse just went out and just took it to them. I mean, and didn't even get close. And I mean, Modern Games has been a dominant horse and couldn't even get close to this
Here's
horse.
Modern Games back here.
Yep, coming. So I mean,
here's Up to the Mark.
Up to the Mark is
no. Up to the Mark is closing behind Modern Games. Sorry.
Yep.
We'll
and
see.
Up to the Mark was a little further back, and Shea Pierre got. I mean, let's not get it wrong. Shea Pierre also got a fantastic trip. Just basically, excuse me, sitting off a 15-1 shot. So it wasn't like he didn't have the best trip, but he was just so powerful, opened up in the lane, never really gave anyone a shot. This field didn't come up super strong. No. So, I mean, I don't know. And it was off late. I mean, again, we always talk about Lasix every once in a while. That horse ran off Lasix and wound up running a lifetime buyer top 106. Picked up Pratt, then has Pratt again. Delacour, the only thing I saw, 0 for 8 wins on the Belmont turf. But I mean, I'm not sure he's ever had anyone this good.
No.
So that can change your percentages pretty quick.
By the way, love seeing the Barbaro Silks guys and win a race again. I'm not a bounce guy. Pete and Paul, I don't think you're bounce guys either. But even if someone is, this horse has now had plenty of time to recover from a big buyer top. The rail, I don't know. I guess you can make the argument be better if he was outside. I guess you could get stuck inside in a small field. I mean, we've seen crazier things, Paul. But if this horse finds room in the stretch, he's going to be extremely difficult here to beat.
Yeah, I was actually at Keeneland that day, Howard. That was the day before you got there, I believe. That was the weekend of the contest. Yep. And I got to tell you, I happened to be in the paddock before that race because I wanted to get a look at Modern Games up close. And when I watched Modern Games walk out to the track, I said, geez, I know why this horse is 3-5. A horse, he could not have looked any better. And he was this Shea Pierre was never losing that race for 1 second. It was a little bit of a different move for Appleby to ship over this early in the year, but still, as Pete points out, he came back to win. He's an extraordinarily good racehorse, and this horse ran very well. Now, having said that, you make a point, Howard. In this configuration, you do kind of want to break from the one because you got to kind take a little bit
Yeah.
of a right and a left. I'm very mechanical, as you can tell. But you know, that was Pratt's first time on him last time, and you know, I just watched the Emmanuel race. I tried to pick Emmanuel here. I think he ran well, but you know, didn't have any real excuse. You know, he was wide a little and then in between in the stretch, but you know, he ran well enough. The only thing I'll say is this: if for any chance the race gets very contested up front, I think if someone's going to come from behind and pull a shocker, picking up pieces, it could be the 5 Anaconda. I think this horse race flow could be favorable for him. Having said that, I picked the 1, but just in trying to handicap the flow of the race, I don't think that will happen, and I haven't really looked at the time form yet. I suppose I could do that instead of talking, but I think the 1 will be tough. I think he's in a good spot, and he's got one of the world's best turf jockeys on top of him.
Yeah. Anaconda ran better than it looked last time, but he was running down Yes and not Shea Pierre. So he's not that far off, though. I've got him third. I'll talk about the 7. People we'll let you talk about the 2, and then we'll move on to some more interesting races. This horse, guys, I like outside posts on this mile turf course because they can just leave and look to their left and see what's going on. This is a very good horse. I know he's already 7 years old, but I love the prep. Even though he didn't win, that's fine. He's got some big numbers. He likes the sort of 1 turn, like 7 furlong mile configuration at Woodbine. I see no reason why he won't like it at Belmont. I mean, he was in the Jaipur last year, but he didn't break, and you tossed that race out completely. I mean, he won a grade 2. He won 2 grade 2s. Size might just send this horse, guys, and just go and take his chances. And if he does that, Paul, look, we've seen stranger things. I love a 1-7 exacta. I know it's not overly creative, but I'll take I'll take $8 for $2. A 3-1 straight exacta 1-7 all day long. That's just my opinion. I think this horse is interesting for second. I don't think he's going to win. I wouldn't be completely shocked, though. I might back up with little 7-1 the other way, just for sanity purposes. Pete, you got the 2 second. Then we're going to move on. Emirati is a horse that really got good, like surprisingly good, at least to me, at the end of last year as a 7-year-old. Layoff and an 8-year-old, not a big fan of that, but it is Chad.
Well, the funny thing, one of the notes I had was that, this horse in his 7-year-old season, so he hasn't run yet at 8, but in his 7-year-old season, look, just from a buyer standpoint, 94, 96, 101. That's pretty impressive from a 7-year-old. So the hope is that he was just good. And again, you don't know how he's going to come back, a little older, first time off the layoff. He has fired off layoffs in the past. If you look back in September of 21, he won a race, and then he fired back in July of last year in a nice race, didn't get the win, but still ran well. So, and Chad's usually solid off the layoff, although it's funny, he's 1 for 13 off a 240 to 300 day layoff in grade 3s only. So maybe when it's not his best horse, maybe he's not. That was the way I looked at it, was maybe when it's not like his top notch horses, they're not as ready as we're used to seeing. And, but it's also, Chad is 18 for 24 at this configuration in the past year in the money. So when I'm looking at that going, if nothing else, I could see this horse just hitting the board underneath the 1, and maybe you get a little bit of a price because he doesn't look, I think the money behind the 1 should probably be pretty spread out. So
I think it will be pretty spread out behind the 1. That's an interesting point. My overall feeling of horses come off layoff speed as they get older, it's less likely they're going to run well the older they get off the layoff. Just like as we get older, it's hard to get out of bed, etc.
I agree.
But I'll tell you what, he was really good last year. All right, guys, let's go on to the last 2 races. The penultimate race of tonight's show is going to be race 6. Now, I have a very, very strong opinion of this race. We're going to see what Pete and Paul have come up right now on the bottom of the screen. Paul Halloran. Great minds think alike, sir. Wow. I thought I was being a little bit cheeky with this pick, but apparently not, because someone else on the show, and Pete's got this horse third. Let's talk about the Brooklyn here, guys. I'll bring it on screen. The Brooklyn is a fun race. I like this race every year. It's fun. Grade 2, it's 1.5 miles. It's the same distance as the Belmont. It's on dirt. This is race 6. It's a nice field of 11 with some really no hopers on the outside, 250 to 1 shots. And the morning line favorite is the number 7 Warrants for Cox and Pratt. Paul, and have you go first. Paul and I are thinking alike in this race. We like a little bit of price here. We're only number 2, Red Run for Maker and Gaffleone. I think this horse is fascinating. Paul, I completely agree with you, but you are first. Why do you like Red Run in the Brooklyn on Saturday?
Well, a couple of reasons. He's a half to Red Route 1, who looks like he can run all day, and we will be running in the Belmont on Saturday, although I don't like him. A couple of things about this configuration here at Belmont. As you know, it's 1 lap. It's a 2-turn race, whereas not that they run a lot of 1.5 mile dirt races, but typically any 1.5 mile race would be 3 turns. I think the misnomer is that you want someone to be coming from way behind, similar to the Belmont, because you have to look at it this way, especially with not the really, really good horses. After running 1.25 miles, how much starch is someone going to have to close? I think you want to be in touch with the pace, and that's what I think this horse is going to do. I think the 5 has speed, and you mentioned Howard Warrant, who went to the lead last time in the Churchill race. I think this Red Route 1 probably sits 4th or 5th, gets the right trip. I love having Tyler on him. Gun runner out of a Tappet mare. So he's already run the distance once last time, and he was closing a little bit. Just missed catching Warrant. And I don't think we'll get 6 to 1, but I'll be happy to take it.
I think we might, Paul. Let me talk a little more about the last race. I'm not going to show the replay. It was a very slow pace. Now, not every one of these 1.5 mile races are slow, but it was slow. Warrant got an absolute dream trip just following Next, who was off the layoff. We'll talk about Next because it's Pete's top pick. And I saw Next in person at the Breeders' Cup last year. I think the key for me in this race, why I like Red Run, Paul, other than all the things you mentioned, is this horse, Bright Future. Bright Future has a lot of release speed. Now, I don't know what the plan is with Pletcher and Irad, but I can tell you one thing. This horse, there's no way this horse is that far off the pace. In fact, I would be very surprised if he's not sitting off of Next. And the reason why I like the 2 guys a lot is I just see a scenario in which there's a fast pace. I mean, Bright Future is a fast horse, and Next, who Pete, you'll talk about, doesn't seem to be a horse that wants to sit, at least not too much. I know he sat 3 back, but he's been best on the lead. So between the 4 and the 5, there's got to be some pace involved. And then you got Warrants, who's not a speed horse, but does like to be a little bit more forward. So between the 4, 5, and 7, they've got to be mixing it up at some point. And there's even a really cheap horse like the 3 that I don't think will be on the lead, but he is better up close. So to me, there's plenty of early speed. And Paul, you knocked everything out of the park. He's an improving 4-year-old gun runner. Tappet ran well last time, is improving for Maker, who can get a long distance horse ready to roll. He's going to be a price. I love everything about Red Run. This is one of my top picks or plays of the entire weekend. I think he's fascinating. I really like him quite a bit. And I've got Bright Future second based on his class and I think this is a future star. It's a weird spot because they could have run him in other places. I guess they didn't think he was good enough for the Met Mile guys, but I think Bright Future has exactly that. I'm very interested to see what Todd's going to do with this horse going forward. Now, Pete, you've got Next. This is a horse that was sort of a buzz horse on Breeders' Cup Day last year because he was, I think, 15 to 1 morning line and opened up 6 and just kept going down from there and ran like it. Maybe just needed the start last time. Did give it up. I'm assuming you just think he's going to run back to those hundreds.
Yeah, I like the horse that maybe could just get on the top and go. And the one thing about Next is he doesn't run well first off the layoff. If you look back, he's always struggles a little bit first off. So the hope is maybe he just always needs that tightener. And then his next race out. I mean, those 2 races prior, to the last one. The 2 races to end 2022 were phenomenal. One of the ones you're talking about. So if he can run back to those, and I agree with you that there is some potential speed, but I think he's the most natural to just get on the lead. And, and sometimes in these longer races, once a horse gets to the lead, the other jockeys are maybe a little reticent to go because it's such a long race and they don't want to tire their horses out. So I think if he does get on the lead and gets comfortable, he can take them around. But to me, this was a funny race because this is like an old harness race to me where these are horses who run against each other. And so, if you watch the replays, there's not a ton to take from the top few horses where it just seems like they can beat each other. They're all pretty good. None of them are great. So if you catch the right trip, if you catch the horse on the right week, that's when they jump up and win. So I really liked this race, but I just thought it was wide open and there was about 5 or 6 that could logically win.
So Pete, next has a 90 early time form U.S. pace, and Bright Future's got a 101 early time form U.S. pace. You believe, though, that next will be on the lead because Ortiz is going to be concerned about this horse going longer than a mile, might want to conserve his energy. Is that your thought? And what happens when Bright Future puts pressure on next earlier in the race than you want, or you just think he's just that good?
No, I don't think he's just that good. I think it's wide open. The hope with next is that he can get loose and nobody challenges him early. And then he's shown that he could kick away. Bright Future, he's got a little bit quicker of a time for him and he runs a little quicker, but he's always sitting off and that's going a mile. And he's been sitting off moderate paces. So he hasn't had to chase, so he hasn't, in my opinion, I don't look at him and think he's a pure speed horse who's going to go and contest the lead. Hopefully Irad is smarter than that because I think, if you're stretching a horse out from a mile to a mile and a half, I'm not sure you want to get into a little bit of a speed duel up front with a quality horse.
I think you're right. I actually think next will have the lead. I just think, we'll see. You could be absolutely right. I'm a little bit against him, but he's run some big races. There's 2 horses very quickly, guys. Then we're getting to the last race I want to mention. I know 4 Warren looks ridiculous, okay? But would anyone on this panel be shocked if Uriah St. Louis had this horse cranked up and ready to go on a big race day and runs like a very surprisingly good, like second or third at like 25-1? I wouldn't at all. This horse has run some big races. The other horse that I think I'm against Lone Rock completely, by the way, it looks like we all are. I think his best days were behind him. Calibrate. This is a horse I've also chased a little bit. For newly trained Jamie Ness, newly trained Jamie Ness, and does have a race 2 back that beat Lone Rock and Warrant. Paul, Pete, you've got this horse second. Paul, I have this horse third. Pete, I'll touch you very quick. I think if there is some speed, I would not be shocked at all if this horse runs big at a big price also.
I mean, for me, a lot of it too was the Jamie Ness factor. I'm not going to miss out on a price horse if he rises this horse up like he's been known to do in some cases. So, and it's not like it's taking a horse who's no good, like you said, 2 back. It was 30-1, so sometimes you get a little scared of that. But that was the first time he stretched out to this sort of distance, and he ran great. And then in the last one, it was just a little bit weird. I thought his trip was a little funny. He looked like he was unsure about what to do and when to move. Yeah. So he didn't move and make an aggressive move, and then he just sort of faded, and the other 3 sort of pulled away. But I figured the Ness factor, the horse has shown it can win at a mile and a half, and I'm looking at it going at 10-1 or whatever price we wind up getting. I'll take it again in a field where I think it's just wide open. So I wouldn't mind having some prices in there.
It's quite amazing how much we're in general against Warrant. I know Paul's got this horse second, but you and I don't have Warrant anywhere in the top 3. I don't know. I
had 4. I did have 4.
He's classy, and I've got him right back here, by the way. He got him right back here, Warrant, in my picture back there, because he fortunately finished second in the race back here. That you guys see. I think it's gonna be the whole race to me depends on what the 4 and 5 do. That's the whole race right there. There's no way our horse can win, Paul, unless they at least go a little bit, or unless he improves a lot. So, Paul, any final thoughts? I'm sorry, Pete.
Well, I was just gonna say I had 4 A's and Warrant was the other one. So to me, I had them all sort of on a similar plane. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
Final thoughts, Paul.
Lone Rock should contribute to the pace as well. Lone Rock is, one is kind of a specialist at this distance. Again, 8 years old now, but has run in the past, run very good races at this distance. I think the pace will be honest enough. I do.
I do also. Tony Rollo from Crownsway Racing wants to know when we're going to preview the second race at Gulfstream on Saturday. Tony, we have not forgot about that. I will talk about it tomorrow night, Tony. We're short on time tonight, but I had Kyle Roscoe in the chat like, what's that about? People are at home writing, what the hell are these guys talking about? Listen to our show tomorrow night. We have meaning almost everyone on the podcast, has a very strong interest in what's going to be happening in Gulfstream Saturday race 2, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. All right, guys, let's get into the last race of tonight's show. And wow, this is one of many really, really good races on Saturday. Let me bring it up right now here. Whoops, let me scroll down a little bit and let me bring up the banners coming up. This is race 7. There's our picks, guys. Pete and Paul. Whoa. Talk about lockstep. And I'm off the reservation one more time. Here we go. Guys, this is the Ogden Phipps. And what a race it was last year. Oh, my goodness. Was that exciting between Malathot and Clarier last year. It's a grade 1. It's a 1-turn mile and a 16th, $500,000 for the older girls. It's a small but elite field of 6, led by number 6, Clarier, who won last time in a thrilling race at in the Apple Blossom. Got her heart broken last time in this race last year. Let's go to you first, Paul. Paul and Pete, well, you guys have the same horse, so you guys can talk together, and then I'll talk about my top choice. You're both going with the Moorline favorite, Clarier, in a fantastic rendition of the Ogden Phipps. Either one.
I mean, she likes this track. She likes this distance as much as a closer as she is. She seems to be tactical enough that even Joel can't get her too far back usually. Although he'll try.
He tries.
He does. A for effort. Hey, look, you're right, huh? This 5. I went back and I'm sure you guys too, and I watched the replay. I saw it live. She was as game as could be in that race last night. I mean, if you watch that, Secret Oath looks like a winner at the 8th pole, at the 16th pole, and This horse she digs in and never lets her by. I wonder how much that takes out of a horse like her and Secret Oath. That was just about a month ago, and it was a grind. All 3 of those horses, the 3, and it's ironic, Howard, because no one picks search results more than me, and you have her, and I don't. She just shows up. She just shows up every time, and there were 6 horses in the race. 2 of them have more than $1 million in career earnings, and 2 of them have more than $2 million in career earnings. So there.
Play hard, Pete. Well, first of all, Clarier is your girl, so let's make that clear.
Yes,
that this is your girl. You got to talk about her first, but
quiet music, dim the lights, light a candle,
put the dance music on. Pete, I also want to tip my cap to you because I did not like Play Hard at all last time, and I think you had her like 2nd or 3rd, and I think that was an A for you in your pick 5 grid. So kudos to you with Play Hard last time. Talk about these 2 horses. How do you see the race flow developing here, Pete?
Yeah, actually, I was pissed because I sort of had that horse on top, and I didn't, but I did have it on the ticket. Yeah, so my thought is, I think it's a great race, obviously, and it looks like there's a little bit of speed. There's potentially, there's not a lot of speed. Past the Champagne's is a little bit quick sometimes. Search results can be quick. Who the hell knows what the 3 is going to do?
What is this horse? What? Guys,
I don't know what that one's even doing in the
race. I know
race.
I like field sizes, but come on.
Yeah, that
what
one doesn't.
Well, we'll just move on. I'm going to get myself in trouble.
No, that one doesn't make any sense. But Played Hard, obviously, is going to be close to the top. So my thought is, hopefully there's a little bit up front. Some of those horses actually go. We don't get like a crawling pace, and Rosario takes Clarier, 12 lengths out of it. That's the hope if you're rooting for Clarier. I always pick Clarier. I thought she was the best older mare last year. I think she's going to be the best older mare and mare in general this year. I just like Play Hard. I agree with Paul. I think the horse she's just game, and she came back and she went from 4 to 5, and she sort of kept her form from the middle and late last year. And the point would be, if she's improving and if she can keep this, then why not? She should get a good trip. She's tactical. Secret Oath has come back a little bit better. I know we're gonna get to her, but Secret Oath, I'm not a Secret Oath fan, but she looks better than she was. I mean, if you're going just based on figures, they're higher, more consistent.
I thought she's hung pretty bad the last.
No,
two.
she did
both
hang,
those two races she should have won and didn't. So yeah, her numbers say that, but I don't know. I don't know. I hate horses that lose by neck speed. I got
and I agree. I mean, it looked like she was rolling by. I mean, it looked
that way.
It looked like there was no chance she wasn't going by. But I just think she might just be better. But I just think Clairiere is better than all of them. And I know you're going to talk about search results. I don't think search results is ever good enough to beat the top horses. She just doesn't do it.
Whoa!
And she never does. She doesn't.
Easy, Clairiere boy.
No, but if you look at her, I mean, when you talk about her races, she's never beats the top horses. When she runs against a step down, she beats them and she looks super impressive. But against the best, she always winds up finding a way to lose. And so that's why I mean,
she lost to Malfat by half a length. That's
but she always finds a way. She always finds a way.
Win. Well, let me explain my search results pick, because to be honest, and I know people don't, go back and watch our shows, way back when, but I think you guys might have an inkling of this. I've not been a huge fan of this horse. I've not picked this horse too often. But here's my thing, guys. Let's go to the PPs, okay? Here's my reasoning. First of all, actually, I'm going to put all of us on the screen here. I don't see a lot of speed in this race. Now, Play Hard is the only real speed in this race other than search results. And I have a hard time believing Johnny V is just going to, blast out of there. I don't see it. If he does, I think search results can sit a little bit, but I'm expecting search results to go to the lead. Let's talk about what you just mentioned, Pete, because it's a fair point. Last year's Ogden Phipps, we remember, was crazy. Remember that was Latruska who was on the rail, and they were flying in that race. And I thought, and we actually all thought, if you recall, that search results here on this June 11th race right here ran huge, only lost 2 lengths when they were flying up front and had to deal with Latruska. Then she wins the mile picture very well, and she runs huge in the personal ensign. I don't think she's a mile and eighth horse. I didn't like her at Keeneland at all in the distaff and a mile and eighth fine. Let's talk about the last race, okay? Yes, Play Hard beat her fair and square, but Society, guys, sent on the outside and put search results in sort of the pocket inside. I don't think search results wants to be inside, like sitting in behind. I think search results is better on the outside or just on the lead. I want Flavian to go. Flavian, just send hard, take it to them. She loves Belmont, guys. She's 3 for 3 in the money. She's 2 for 3 on the win end. There's no Latruska. There's no Play Hard. There's no Latruska. There's no Society. I think she's absolute lone speed if they're aggressive with her. I think she still has a ton of class. I'm not worried about the distance. She likes this surface, and she's going to be a little bit of a price. I really like search results Saturday, and I've not always been a fan of her, but I think this is her spot. Either one of you have a thought on my comments, then we're going to wrap up the show.
It's a good case for sure. My concern would be that everything that you said just happens, but there's good enough horses who aren't going to let her get loose, and they're going to get close to her, and she's going to have to hold off a couple of them. So even if Secret Oath comes up, Secret Oath has a great move on the turn, and Secret Oath has a great turn of foot and can get in contention quickly.
But so that's the thing, Pete. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Belmont, you don't need a quick turn for it because it's such a long. I don't think that's going to work well for her because of exactly what you just said, right? Because
I don't think it's going to work. It's not going to work for her to win. But it's not going to work for her to win. It's going to work for her to take the starch out of whoever she's chasing, and then Clairiere is going to run them all down anyway. But it's going to put pressure, and I think Played Hard. If Played Hard stays fit and is, like Paul said, doesn't sort of, or one of you said, doesn't sort of bounce off that last race, I think Played Hard would make a move as well. So now you're going to have two horses. Again, if search results gets on the lead and wins, it's not like I'm going to be shocked. I mean, she's 4-1. It's not like she's a 10-1 crazy horse. It's one of those that she can definitely do it. And especially if Rosario's 50 lengths back and screws around and some of the other, and Played Hard doesn't run as well, then
Mike
anything can happen.
McGuire, another comment. Sorry to interrupt you, Pete.
No, that's all right.
Mike McGuire. We got a lot of new people. Thank you very much, guys. If you're new to the show, we put out great content. We believe it's an excellent podcast. Paul, you have a thought with Play Hard. The last thing I'll just say, Paul, I'll let you finish the show pretty much. I want to see it again. Pete had a great pick last time. I give full credit to the horse, but Play Hard and Play Hard and Secret Oath. We're in the middle of the track, guys. If you watch the replay in the stretch, and I don't think Search Results ever saw those two. She was like on the inside, like a good 3 or 4 paths away, and I don't think she ever saw those two either. That's my final thought. But go ahead, Paul. You wrap it up.
Well, two things. Played Hard got a masterful ride from Hall of Famer John Velasquez. Played Hard was on the lead going to the first turn. Society, the cotillion winner, was taken to the lead on the outside. Then once got to the lead, was brought back to the inside, and Johnny V just pulled back immediately and got Played Hard off the rail, and off the rail she remained. You're right, Howard. In the stretch, Search Results was glued to the rail. Secret Oath and Played Hard. Played Hard was in the middle, and I think Secret Oath was outside, and they were about 3 or 4 paths away. I think Secret Oath runs turns very well, and if you watch her races, she makes up a lot of ground. Bad news, there's only one of them in this race, not 2, and it is not the type, it's a prolonged turn and not the type of turn that's necessarily geared to the way she runs. I think she tries awfully hard. I was talking to Kyle today. He couldn't believe that she got picked up at Oakland 2 races ago. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, Kyle. I shouldn't have said that. But again, if I were looking to beat someone in this race, I'm looking to beat Secret Oath. I just think, I'm not. My affair with Clairiere is not as hot and heavy as Pete's by any way, shape, or imagine. But, she is a Curlin, so by nature, she and I have a flirtatious relationship at ground level. And I do love those Stone Street colors. I think that there's a lot of ways she could win the race. My concern Played Hard. I think she ran great, as I said. Bounce, whatever you want to call it. That was a grinding race, and you could say the same for Secret Oath. I think Clairiere, with an extra 3 weeks rest, might be sitting better in that category. But certainly those 3. I'm not surprised if the 3-horse scratches. I have no idea why this horse is entered. They're going to ship from Penn National or Maryland, I guess, to run in this race. Trainer switch from Brittany Russell to someone else. So it's effectively a 5-horse race. Yeah. The one ran extremely well last time in the Ruffian grade 2. This is a big step up. Only 1 grade, but in big quality. But that horse is certainly ran well. And Fergal Lynch, by the way, can really ride. So
and Idiomatic, the one who ran second, came back last week and looked really impressive.
A rare A horse for me, Pete. The one on that.
That actually won. I know. Me and you the same.
As we wrap up the show, Sylvain, I'm going to answer your question in the chat tomorrow. But Sylvain, if you're going to be with us tomorrow, Thursday, make sure you ask that question again. He wants to know my biggest or favorite win bet of the weekend. It is not one of the races we talked about tonight, but Sylvain asked that question tomorrow. To me, it's a 2-horse race, guys. Flavian Pratt, go to the lead, which Search Results, and do not turn back. Don't look back.
We could go, Howard, we go right down the paddock and tell them that before the race. There's nothing preventing that.
I think we're going to do that. All right, guys. Fun show tonight. We are going to Bettin Boozin starts in 10 minutes with a huge preview of Friday's races. Do not go anywhere on this channel. Come back, get a drink, use the washroom, get a drink of water, do what you got to do, and come back for Bettin Boozin. All 3 of the boys will be here talking about the Friday stake races. Then we'll be back, guys. Probably 8:30 Thursday night start time, might be 8 o'clock Eastern start time, depending if they race or not, a Thursday, to talk about an unbelievable, guys, holy crap, late pick 5 ending the Belmont with some fantastic races. For Pete Visco and Paul Howard, and this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 264 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Don't go anywhere. 10 minutes, Bettin and Boozin. Good luck with those undercard stake races on Saturday. Take care, everyone. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Right. And it
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.